Hey everybody, it's Cory with Utah Dream Properties and Keller Williams. Today we're going to talk about how we started investing in real estate.
Let's get to work. Let's get to work.
All right, so we've had some questions from people and people kind of ask us, I think it's both out of curiosity and out of validity, like, hey, are you guys really doing this type question, which is great. We take that full force. Yes, let's talk about how we started into investing. First and foremost, I'm proof you can start investing at any age, right? We did not buy our first rental property until we were 45. I spent my entire career in the military. Had I known about these things, I would have started earlier, but I didn't know. So it was ignorance was bliss. And then all of a sudden I educated myself, and then we got into this and started getting around it. We knew what was going on, and we started buying properties. So we waited till 45 to buy our first investment property. So let's talk a little bit about that first purchase, because it's kind of neat to first purchase. I was a real estate agent at the time, and so I was out knocking doors. And one thing that I would do, and anybody can do this, they call it driving for dollars. You can drive through neighborhoods that you think would be good neighborhoods to have rentals in, right? So I was doing that, and I knocked on them, and I always look for the weeds in the front yard that are as tall as me, and that's kind of an indicator that it's either abandoned or a rental or something like that. So sometimes you can get a good deal on those kind of things. So that's what I did, and I knocked on this door, and a gentleman said, hey, I just need to move, and one thing led to another, and sure enough, that was our first rental property. The way that we bought that one, so there's different strategies. So let's talk about how do we do that, because a lot of times people just kind of throw their arms up and are like, well, I don't have any money to do that. I can't do this. So there's a whole bunch of different strategies. Let's just talk about a few of them today. So there's seller finance, which seller finance means the seller wants to get out of it, but they only need a certain amount of money per month. So they're willing to kind of strike a deal with you. The seller's willing to be the bank. You then take over the title, and you guys agree on terms. If there's no real bank involved, the seller becomes the bank. So that's an option, and that can work out for some people. And there's different ways to negotiate that. So that's just a very brief thing on that. Call me and we'll talk about it. Of all of these, the way that we did our first one, I'll talk about this real quick, is we kind of saved up. We had saved up some money over the first several years that we were in real estate, and we kept putting some aside as a goal of buying a rental property. And that's how we did it. So we had a bigger down payment, and we bought it as an investment property. So that's a little bit, so it's a good way to do it, but it's also a more cash-oriented way to do that. Another strategy for buying a rental property, like I said, people say, I don't have any money. I understand that. How about my 19-year-old bought a house, right? We helped her do that first one, but what they can do is they can live in that first one for a year, at least, maybe 2 years. And then they can look at, all right, during that 2-year time period, I'm going to save up. And then, because now they're started, right? They're getting married. They've both got real jobs. They're not in college anymore, all those kind of things. So they can start putting money aside and actually have a goal of saying, I'm going to buy another house in 2 years. So the idea is you live in this house for at least a year, according to the loan terms, but then sometimes maybe 2 years if it takes that long to save up. And then you put a renter in that one, and you buy another one, and you move into that one. And you can keep doing that. We have actually a client, he was in the military with me, a good friend of our family. We taught him how to do some of this stuff, and he actually is doing exactly that. He bought a house, a rental property, even in a different state. So all this stuff works. We've got many examples of proof that this is working. Most of your wealthiest people in the world are in real estate some way, shape, or form. They may not have gotten their wealth from that, even like tech people. But if you look at them, they have a portfolio of real estate somewhere that's growing for them. So anyway, not to get too far off track, I get excited when I talk about this stuff. So we talked so far about a bigger down payment, right? We talked about seller finance. And then I said you can do a year in, and you can move every year or 2 years, whatever it is, and you can buy a property that way.
The advantage is
what's that?
lower down payment.
Yeah, so correct. Good job, Bree. So as far as the one moving every year, the reason why people will do that is because when you're living in, whatever home you're living in is your primary home, your primary residence. And if you're going to move, you can buy a new primary residence. And instead of putting down 20 or 25%, which is an investment property requirement, and it depends on your lending, you can put down as little as 3.5% and buy an FHA loan on a home, which is way, way less as far as, you know, cash out of pocket in order to move into that next house. Put a renter in this one, I'm buying a new primary residence. So that's a big deal. And that's a way that a lot of people could get into this, and they don't really realize that, because 3.5 or 5%, and of course we'll have to run your credit and do all those things, but it's a lot less cash to have to save up over, you know, a couple of years than a full 25%. And that's why a lot of people just don't even try, because they're like, I can't save 25%. It's just too much. And that's understandable, totally understandable. One other way that I wanted to touch on, if you ever go to, there's a podcast called Bigger Pockets. Those guys are fantastic. They do a lot with investing and such. And one of the gentlemen on there wrote a book called Burr. It's called Burr Investing, BRRRR. And the B is to buy it, and then you rehab it. So the first R is rehab. Then the next R is to refinance. And then the next R, no, did I do it right?
No, yeah.
Buy, there's too many R's. Buy, rehab, then refinance, then put a renter in, then do it again. Repeat is the last R. So that strategy works pretty well, because yes, you would have to, for that one, save up some money to make this happen, right? But let's say that you had a nest egg set aside, and so then you would have enough for your down payment on the loan, because it's an investment property, and a little bit more to clean up a property, right? So that's why you're doing the refinance, because you're pulling back out the money that you put into it. So let's just do easy numbers and say that we bought a property at $300,000. It's a little 3-bed, 2-bath or something like that. It's probably going to cost you, you know, let's just use simple numbers. Let's say you put $50,000 down, figure that out for real numbers, and then you put another 30 or so into it for a rehab. You're into it about 80 grand, or a little less than 100. When you went to refinance that, you do a cash out refinance and you pull that back out. You put a renter in there, and then you go do it again. So that's a pretty cool strategy. There's a whole book written on that.
And the renter's paying your...
Correct. Yeah, so on all of these, when you move out of it and go to the next one, you have renters in there that are paying for those mortgages. And then why are we doing all of this, right? It sounds like, holy cow, this is a pain in the butt, and we're investing all this money and whatever. Well, the reason we're doing it is because as you go down the road, right, we want them to cash flow, they call it. So if it costs, let's just say $2,000 a month for ease of numbers, and you're getting $2,200 a month, that means you're making $200 in cash flow money, right? So let's just say that's right off the bat. As you go along and you start getting these paid off, right? So we're talking, if you start investing, and then you can take different lengths of loans out, of course, and you can pay different amounts down. But let's just say you do a 30-year fixed loan, because that's usually the lowest rate and it's the cheapest and all of that stuff. If you did that and you started in your 20s, by the time you're in your 50s, these homes that you purchased are starting to be fully paid for. And now instead of getting $200 or so a month, you're getting $2,000 a month or $2,200 a month or whatever it is as that time goes along. Plus you have all that equity in all of those properties that's there. If you needed to, you could tap into that through loans, or you could just sell one or whatever. So if you had 10 of those that you did when you were younger, and you moved every year or two, and you built up your portfolio and you kept that, you know, that's pretty nice. I mean, 10 times 2,000 is 20 grand a month coming into your home or for your family's wealth, which is, you know, 240 grand a year. That's not too shabby when you're getting, you know, towards retirement, especially when, you know, you might not trust big industry, those kind of things. You know, they're going out of business, people are losing their job, all kinds of different crazy things happening. You can say, I am going to build my own retirement plan. And you can do other things, don't get me wrong. You know, I'm not telling you to put all your eggs in one basket, but this is just an example of what we did and why we did it. So today we talked about a lot, I know that, how we started investing in real estate. Please call us and ask us questions. We love to help people build their portfolios. Bree's putting these out every Friday. This was one of the questions that we received, so that's why we're doing this video. All of our contact information is down below. Definitely like and subscribe to these, share them with friends, and then tell us what your questions are. Have a great day.